You have to be able to kind of evolve past that more primitive state and say, if I'm being attracted to like someone that has dark triad or who isn't going to be there for the goals that I have, which is like to start a family, long-term marriage, then maybe don't go after that guy. So instead, we're kind of letting our biology make bad decisions for us.
Why the father and the brother were so important and arranged marriages were a thing, because you know, if you give women the ability to pick their own partners, you guys make really bad mistakes early on when your value is at its highest. And then by the time you're, you know, ready to settle down, your value's been depleted to a guy that might want it. That's why virginity was such a big thing for so long.
Yeah, well, who's going to be better at picking a potential mate for their daughter? A man who was tasked with the duty of taking care of his daughter for the past 18 years and knew her before she even knew herself? Or an 18-year-old girl that's new into the world, who has all this value that she might not understand, who's easily influenced by a tall man that's willing to tell her sweet nothings? Probably the dad is going to be better at making that decision. And the interesting part about this is anytime you talk about arranged marriages, people immediately turn to the woman as like the victim, as if these women weren't being married to young men who also had families. And it wasn't only just the father and the brothers. There were also mothers involved. There were sisters involved, entire family lineages that were involved, and these two people creating a unionship together. And oftentimes this type of structure will be demonized in the modern sense because people equate freedom to just the end-all be-all of happiness per se, and that's not necessarily the truth. Oftentimes freedom without boundaries and discipline will just lead you to being a slave to your vices, and that's literally what she was explaining at the beginning. Women being victims of their primal nature to look for certain things in men that might not be the best for long commitments. And you see that being reflected in the single motherhood statistics. It's just simple. It's right in the statistics. You see women picking these guys at a higher rate and ending up as single mothers more than ever. And the issue with back in this time, number one, child rearing was super dangerous. You're talking about a time before modern medicine. You get a cut, you might as well find a hole to bury yourself in because of infection. So giving birth in this time was super dangerous. And you're talking about a time also where being a single mother, there weren't these infrastructures and social structures like welfare programs. If you were a single mother, that was kind of a death sentence for you at that time as a young woman. So yeah, that structure had to exist. So a lot of it is contextual, and people just equate the modern sense of the idea of freedom to the end-all be-all net happiness, and that's not necessarily always the case. And she was literally conceding that point at the beginning by saying that she's seeing more women fall into their primal nature.
Also, though, it's kind of alluding to the fact that didn't have issues as well, because there was a lot more violence against women.
Everything has
too,
issues.
With arranged marriages and before divorce was a thing, and you had master and head laws that up until the 70s like wasn't a thing as long as you were married to your right. Like that's not okay. So we're pretending that like as long as like women are.
I mean, sex
if you read any literature of the past, you know that abusing your wife was always challenged and always a moral wrong. You'll also know that child marriage was also seen as a moral wrong by majority of people. It did happen in some cases, but it was always debated as a moral wrong. And if you read any literature on those topics in the past, there was never just people just going, yeah, everybody should do this. Oftentimes it was allowed under certain very minute context, and it was obviously wrong from our perspective, but in that time it was always debated amongst people. Number one, like for slavery, for wife abuse, for child marriage, a lot of the things we consider to be taboo today to talk about, a lot of those things were always taboo and talked about in heavy concern over the past. So if you read any literature from the past, you'll see that.
It's a duty for a woman to her man, and
it was never okay to just beat your wife.
Does any man want to have sex with someone who doesn't want to have like that? Like, how do you have forceful sex with someone and still want to do that?
I mean, we could definitely say that's messed up, but I think that's important to understand that, like, right, women don't really have to align with their duties as a wife, but men almost always have to align with their duties.
I think both should.
Yeah, for sure. But what I'm saying is that, like, okay, so the problem is that, like, with feminism and other things is, like, women want the privileges and the benefits of chivalry and, like, the security of marriage and the sanctity of that, but they don't want to hold up their end of the bargain. Versus, like, for men, right, like, we have to do what we're supposed to do, and if we don't, we deal with consequences for it. You know, women initiate most breakups, they initiate most divorces, etc. So, you know, if I'd say, you know what, I don't feel like paying the bills anymore, like, you would look at me like I'm crazy. But like when women say, well, I don't want to fuck my husband anymore, it's completely socially acceptable. Right. So, and this is a big reason actually why I tell guys, like, marriage nowadays with the marriage courts involved and getting married through the state isn't in your best interest, because you don't have leverage anymore. And when you don't have leverage over women, they behave very poorly, if I'm going to
Well,
be
it's even legally, even on a societal scale, for men to adhere to their masculine duties, it's legally enforced. For example, for a man to have the right to vote, he has to be willing to go register for the draft, because the masculine duty to society is to protect, build, and maintain the infrastructure in society. So we have literal laws that require us to adhere to our masculine duties, especially if you want to vote. If you do get if you do get drafted and you refuse to go, you will go to jail. The female duty to society, because they're the only ones that can do this aspect of contributing to society, is child rearing. And if you look at the birth rate, we're far below replacement level. If you look at the priorities of women on the top, and this is a new study, 2025, they said the top 12 things that make you consider to have a successful life, women ranked having a family as number 12. So last on that list was their importance of having a family, but that's their duty to society. So we build all these infrastructures, these welfare systems, these things that benefit women, these things that help women, air conditioning, keyboards so they can go into the workforce, birth control, all these things, some of these things that exclusively benefit women that were created by the patriarchy for women. We built these things so that they could have that access, but now they throw it kind of back in your face and they don't adhere to their duty. And there is no legislation that forces women to adhere to their female duty. Prioritizing family is a part of the female duty. Now ladies are just kind of mooching off the system that men have built by saying saying they don't need men and refusing to contribute to family.
honest.
What's the motivation in marriage?
For men or women?
For a man.
Honestly, dude, I mean, in today's day and age, you really don't get any real benefit besides the title. You can get everything through a regular relationship. Now, again, I think you can marry religiously, and I think that's great because having children out of wedlock's L. But to get the state involved, that's where I run into issues.
I do agree. I recently got married. It's for family. It's for moral tradition.
Of course.
It's for raising strong, honorable individuals. I told Allison.
Better for the kids.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about. So I completely agree. The courts are broken. No fault divorce is broken.
Well, that's all because it's based off the happiness of women. The whole purpose of marriage is for structure, for familial structure. It's for structure for children. The purpose of marriage is to build structure for children and a commitment between two people to raise up a stable household. But when you base it just on the whims of the happiness of women, because through no fault divorce, they can just divorce their husbands and get half, now you completely destroyed the stability feature in marriage. And that was the whole point of it. Stability for children, not for happiness for women, stability for children. And that's oftentimes misconstrued when people talk about marriage nowadays. It's oftentimes talked about through the lens of, is the woman happy? And if not, she's justified in tearing apart her family, even though the original purpose of it was to provide stability and certain government benefits, even, and social benefits in terms of your status going up through family. Like, you won't see a president that doesn't have a family, so you get a little bit more social status through family, and that's kind of been destroyed. The stability feature has been destroyed because it's based on the whims of the happiness of women.
Married for myself. I did it for my child who's going to be here very soon.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I want them to grow up with strong moral tradition and understanding that there is duty and responsibility.
Agreed. And that's why I tell guys, if you're going to get married, do it religiously. Don't necessarily do it with the state or try to avoid the state, because the nuclear family with, married parents is going to be significantly better. But what I'm trying to illustrate here is that, like, what I've realized with women is, like, there's more social acceptance for them breaching the contract than there is for men.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's my.
Well, it depends on, like, what parts are being breached. If we're talking about sex, that's something that's, like, so intimate, and then that will affect the relationship. Like, if you force...
Well, most marriages are sexless.
Right, and I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's okay. Like, why are you in a relationship then? So I think a lot of women...
But I think that's the norm, because women aren't really held to, like, a standard on their side when it comes to marriage obligations.
Yeah, it's confusing because I've heard it phrased kind of similarly, where a woman is tricking a man into monogamy, but really it's celibacy, right? So I'm like promising you monogamy, but then once we become in that monogamous relationship, now you get like marital deathbed, and then what's the point?
Yeah, because I mean, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but, like, a woman's main agency is her sexuality. So if she doesn't give you that, then, like,
it shouldn't be weaponized. I firmly I hate when I see women of, like, you don't do this, I'm not having sex with you. I don't think that's healthy.
they leverage sex for compliance.
Right. I don't think that's okay. But I'm saying, like, if a woman isn't having sex because, like, her body is telling her not to, like, there's, like, some kind of reaction that she's getting, she's like, it's not working, like, nothing is getting lubricated, there's no arousal, she doesn't feel safe, then you have to look at, like, bigger issues within that relationship. So, like, what
she got married to him, so safety should be...
Well, maybe, but people change too over time, so it comes back to, like, not doing your duty. So if you do have a man that's, like, not showing up, not following through, not doing his end in whatever way that was agreed upon within that relationship.
And that's what it always becomes from the female narrow lens. A man running on a treadmill to try to earn sex, even though he signed up for and she signed up for a monogamous relationship. If you sign up for a monogamous relationship, it's not the same as signing up for celibacy. So monogamy is not celibacy. If you're a woman and you're in a monogamous relationship, you do have a duty to your husband to fulfill his sexual needs to some degree. And if you can't, you need to find a way to solve that problem. And you can't be jealous about it, because how you going to try to get a man into a monogamous relationship and then trick him into celibacy? That's absolutely wrong. And I personally think it's unethical. It would be like a man not adhering to his duty to pay bills, or adhering to his duty to go to work, or, doing outdoor labor, like getting the car fixed. Things that men are traditionally expected to do. If he just refused to do that because his wife wasn't, doing what he wanted her to do it all the time, then that wouldn't be acceptable socially on the other end.
Her body is going to say like unsafe, unpredictable, unreliable.
There's only one way to deal with that, though.
Force.
No, not. Well, of course. I mean, that's not the way I was gonna say. This is why it's so important for men to like stay attractive and have other options, because women only respond favorably to men that have other options that can replace her. Women behave the best when you can leave them.
I think we have a problem with dishonor, and I don't know, but a lot of the stuff that I hear, while I do agree and understand what you're saying, I hear a lot of guys who say things like men are disposable, and it's true.
Yeah.
From an evolutionary standpoint. But it's crazy to me that there are guys who are very, very selfish, like I should get what I want out of everything. And it's like, I don't know, the way I view this society is I do like the chivalry. I like the hero charging into battle, sacrificing himself for the greater good, for building something brilliant, planting trees whose shade he knows he will never sit beneath. And that is something that men need to accept. If you were a guy, life will be harder.
Yeah, these are all things that men like too. That's a part of the hero's journey. That's one of the favorite stories that men take pride in. Big, strong man becomes bigger and stronger to take on bad guy to get attractive young woman. The issue is, and this has happened structurally and culturally in society, is that women have taken away that aspect of the beautiful, young, chaste, virgin woman at the end of the story and replaced her with an obese hoe that's been playing the line, and she's now dating two different guys, and now the strong hero is fighting to get the attention of a woman that's obese, and she's not even attractive anymore in these movies, and she's, so they've tried to kind of take away the prize that men actually fight for and tried to kind of pervert it into this idea that men are willing to do this for anybody. But the truth of the matter is, men don't mind taking on those sacrifices, but they expect something in return. And when you have a culture of women who refuse to be virtuous, they think that they can go out in their youth and sleep with as many people as they want. They think that they don't have to respect men. They think that they should be able to abort children that they have. Like, these are things that men don't want to fight for. They think that they could just become overweight and obese, or wait until the end of their fertility in their early, mid-30s to finally start having kids. This is not the hero's journey that men want to fight for. So yeah, I am also for the chivalry, but I think it's up to men to be wise and to decide, and it's our duty to be wise and decide the type of women that we're willing to give that treatment to. You cannot give that treatment to any woman that disrespects you and does not respect your contributions and sacrifices. That's just self-hatred. You don't love yourself if you do that.
A lot of ways. It's not going to be fair to you. You will be treated as disposable garbage. You will be insulted, and that is part of a man being transformed from a wad of cookie dough into being carved out of stone. So all these guys out there that are like, it's not fair, stop being a weak little bitch. Life's never going to be fair to you. It's going to treat you like crap. It's going to throw you in the mud and spit in your face. And then you have to stand up and say, that's what being a guy is.
Tim talking crazy.
And I think if a guy does, traverse these obstacles, that their woman needs to follow their lead and be completely submissive. And, this is why I'm so big on like male leadership. Like, I think anything where women are in the lead, it leads to problems. It's very problematic. And,
started more wars. Is that true?
Yeah.
What, women?
I heard that women, female leaders have started more wars than men. Let me ask.
Yeah, I've heard that stat too. But I think the biggest thing is when it comes to relationships, because too many guys are like okay with letting their wife or their girlfriend run things, and that's like a Trojan horse to the end of the relationship, because they're told you and your woman are equal partnerships, and that just sounds good on paper but doesn't work.
Yeah, Genghis Khan set his wife to be the administrator of the capital when he was on campaign. Like, she was a brilliant administrator, and I think one of the values of marriage through the legal system is you get to share money, and you can give her all your money to administrate.
I think that's bad.
So it says actually
it takes a load off if you're a businessman.
So it's
Well, it depends on how you view money and how she views money. I think being a good leader is also knowing your strengths and weaknesses, picking somebody that complements your strengths and weaknesses, and being able to apply people to the tasks that you might be weaker in. I think that's good leadership. I used to play rugby, and the team leader, the captain of the team, I was the scorer. And I was put into the position of the scorer because I was the best at it. So the team leader, the captain of the team, had no problem allowing me to get the limelight and to score when I needed to because that was my job. And I respected him still as the captain and as the leader. So I think that part of leadership is also understanding your strengths and weaknesses and putting people in the positions that have strengths where you might be weak to compensate for that sometimes. That's fine.
It's interesting. Historically, through all of human history, men have started more wars. Why? Well, there's more male leaders. However, in modern society, it's actually comparable. Women and men start wars at nearly the same rates. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I see your perspective, but I think, I'm a big proponent of like separate bank accounts, your woman not having access to your money, because I think it could just be problematic. But what I've realized is this: when it comes to marriage and dealing with women nowadays, you got to come at it almost from like a defensive standpoint where if she were to leave you or divorce you or whatever, you're mitigating as much risk and damage as possible, because the problem is that the family courts and the marriage system that we have nowadays incentivizes women to leave you, and they get rewarded for it. So I'm like, damn, if you're going to get in a business contract with someone that's incentivized to break it, like that's not good on your end. So you need to hedge your bets and have things in place where you protect your assets.
It's
not even about your assets only. It's about your mental health too. Suicidality skyrockets for men after the divorce. And I think that what men have to do, and I understand that it's your duty to value your family and to prioritize your family, but you have to split that pie. If all of your value is just in your marriage and your family, and you start to get alienated from your friends and your hobbies and the things you like to do, because maybe you got a nagging wife. Maybe she's telling you can't go hang out with the boys. Maybe she's telling you can't go golfing or fishing or do the things you love to do. If there is a divorce and there's a split, she's taking all of the things that made you happy, and that's your family. If you have a few things that you divide that pie up, and now you got to slice with your friends, you got to slice with fishing because you never gave up on your hobby, or you have a slice, whatever you choose to do. I think it's better to mediate that by separating what makes you happy. Obviously, your family should be your number one. They should take the majority of the pie. They should be your number one priority, but you shouldn't allow yourself to be nagged into only just prioritizing your family, because even like he's talking about assets, protecting assets, but I'm just talking about from the perspective of mental health. Divide up the things that make you happy, and you can't just rely on just specifically your family, not in today's conditions, because that can be taken away from you by a woman who chooses to weaponize the government against you any day. And by the way, when this happens, oftentimes the woman was the one that was planning it out. So she could have a full-on plan that she's been kind of falling out of love for the past 2 years, and then boom, one day you wake up and she's starting fights and arguments that you never knew would come, and then she just says that she wants a divorce, and there's nothing you can do as a man. You have no authority anymore in terms of keeping your family together. As a man, you could do everything right and still be punished by the state for it. I think it's criminal, but it is the conditions that we live in, and men have to protect themselves mentally and asset-wise.
This one matters for Western context. From 1480 to 1913, European queens were 27% more likely to engage in military conflict than kings.
Elizabeth, how much of it was
my
Elizabeth?
stats now? Women suck as
Elizabeth,
leaders too. Let's go.
Yep.
I knew it.
She was a beast.
She was a beast.
Yeah, she was an animal.
Because women always say if women ran the world, it would be better, and I'm like,
Not the European ones, I guess.
yeah, I guess not. Yeah.
When it comes to like women upholding their aspect of the social contract, I feel like if a man follows through on his word and makes her like at least once a week. You ever have an unforgettable orgasm? I don't know if you guys, where it's like you still remember it. Like that you should be doing to your wife weekly. And she will always
Well, that's
be there for
assuming
you.
like she wants to have sex in the first place.
Right.
though.
And dang, the man can't get a single reward that doesn't just go to the woman. Like if I work hard and do all these other things, my reward is to please you. I'm not saying that's not what a man should do sometimes, but I'm just saying a man should be able to lay down and let something, things should be done for him, because he's doing a lot for the family, if you get what I'm saying. You know, it shouldn't be his duty to also do all the hard work, and then as a reward, he gets to please you as much as your heart's desire.
Which
Let
I
that
think is the
man lay
biggest
out
problem, is that,
sometimes.
like women just like, I don't feel it anymore. You know what I mean? And this is what I mean when I say like women's attraction is backwards. Like the things that they're aroused by that they actually want, like are almost detrimental to their long-term security. This is why like it's so important for the guy to just be attractive, keep his sexual market value high, and then have the potential to cheat on her. Am I saying go out and smash a bunch of chicks? No, but you definitely need to be capable of doing it because women only respond favorably to men that can replace them, unfortunately.
I've heard this, so I'm interested how Candace views it. There's like a meme, and it's that women want to date a man who they feel could leave them at any moment for any woman, and they want a man who is nice to them, but they know he doesn't have to be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I would agree with all of that. And going back to, so I hate to say red pill because I think it's more black pill when you have like these nihilistic, like really angry dudes online. Like red pill to me seems like you're based in reality, right? You're not so emotionally charged, but it's this idea that they're not going to be respectful to women anymore. They're not going to be chivalrous because of feminism. So like you want to be treated equally, then now I'm going to treat you like a dude instead of like recognizing that we are vastly different creatures. So it's almost weird because it's like this horseshoe thing where we're going into liberalism where like there's no difference between men and women. Like no, there are fundamental differences. And then if you kind of double down and go into the leadership position that a lot of these guys are saying, if you're a leader, you're not going to be influenced by like, I hate to say the word, but like a subordinate or a submissive or someone that like you're supposed to be leading. You're going to be who you are regardless of that influence. So if you have these principles that are I'm going to open the door.
Yeah, but then you can't have equality under that system. So she's trying to say like, you know, we should have equality, but also men should recognize the differences between men and women. But the only way she can understand that she's a subordinate and that she should be led by her husband and if she realizes that they are indeed not equal. So you can't have both of the same things at the same time. And I think that's part of what the red pill has recognized over time is that women seem to say that they want equality, but when they're treated like equals, then they want to throw up the I'm a woman card. But it's like, do you understand what equality means for men? Do you understand the existence of a man? It is to get no help. That is the existence of a man. So to be treated equally, we're not treating you unfairly or worse. To be treated equally is to get no help. That's what it means to be equal to men. Men don't get help.
I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to always operate as my highest self regardless of the other outside influences because those are my principles. I think what I see a lot now is like men just like totally giving up, taking their ball, going home and saying like, I don't want to have values or principles anymore because like women suck.
MGTOW.
Not all women suck. There are plenty that do, and not all guys are great and principled either. So it's like be the best version of yourself, the strongest version of yourself, be principled in your actions regardless of like quote feminism.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I agree. I think you should just abandon feminist women. You should not date them. You should not talk to them. You should not be around them. And you damn sure should not sleep with them. I think there are a lot of guys who kid themselves into thinking they can change a woman who her whole ideology is based around hating you as a man and hating what you are. And the moment she gets the opportunity to point out some of the flaws that you have through her world lens, and she's going to look for them relentlessly. She's not going to see your mistakes as human mistakes and genuine mistakes. She's going to see them as done on purpose through the patriarchy or whatever she believes. So she's not going to see them as mistakes. She's going to see them as done intentionally on purpose to sabotage her. So she's going to be less forgiving. So do not date feminists. I kind of agree with her right there. You shouldn't go back on your principles. If you're a chivalrous man, be a chivalrous man. But to understand the women who are just using you, you got to understand the difference between being useful and being used. I think that's a smart man, and I think you can keep up your chivalry and your traditional roles. Find a woman who that's worth applying to and refuse to entertain any women who are not.
a lot of guys, they're looking at it like the juice just isn't worth the squeeze. I have to work 10 times harder to get a girl that's more ran through, that isn't going to respect me, doesn't respect masculinity in general. So like for a lot of guys, that's why the passport movement is like blowing up, because guys are like, American women suck, which I'll be honest, they do. So I don't blame them for going to Colombia or these other countries where they have more traditional women, because guys have to work significantly harder for a woman that's a slut to obey them. I mean, I find it crazy how Juan can come in here from Mexico, right? Have no money, broke with like 3 kids, and his Mexican wife is more submissive to him than a man that has millions and has his Americanized wife in the household that's being a raging bitch. And again, you know, I think there's problems on the male side too, because men don't understand that they have a masculine burden of performance to be that guy. But if you are that guy and you have your stuff together, simply put, most women don't qualify for marriage.
Well, do you think that most men are showing up that way, or do you think it's probably equal, that in like both sexes you have underperformance on both ends?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, both the genders have their faults. For men, it's
I think most people are average, and that's why you have an average. It is literally the media. It's the average of everybody. So there's always going to be an average. The problem is average women think that they're settling for average men now, and that's a problem. Because they're not settling. They're just getting who they qualify for, but they see it as settling, so they think that they can treat them poorly because they could get somebody better. And it's like, no, you're just a regular lady with a regular man. That's how it's supposed to be.
Performing, and it's for women, they're just hoes. So if a guy does perform and gets to that point, it doesn't make sense for him to wife any of these girls up, because most women want to get married, but they don't want to necessarily be wives. So it's tough. It sucks on both ends. But I do think long term, this is only going to hurt women, because we know women are social creatures. They get far more fulfillment from being around the people they love, versus for men, we're defined by our status. And we can always, find a woman later on in life. For women, they have a finite amount of time to get the guy and consolidate. So I think this hurts women more.
No,
You can be like Chelsea Handler, where she made a video bragging about how she wakes up, what she does drugs, and then masturbates.
Yeah, cope.
Absolute
Like, it's
nightmare.
cope, yeah.
Nightmare.
And I would argue that's where so many women are headed, because the standards, it's simply put, they're high mileage Mercedes charging $150,000 as brand new sticker price, when guys can go ahead and get the same car and rent it out for
that's also
less.
not true though too, because you're talking about like an extreme version of men, like so like hyper successful, like top 5%. For them, that will always be true. Like you could have Hugh Hefner at 90 years old and he's going to still be able to pull any woman that he wants, right?
Yeah.
That's true for like such a small amount of men.
Sure.
For the majority of men, like we look at the obesity numbers in the States, it's like 70 or 80% of people are clinically obese. Those guys are not going to be pulling a college age girl or a 20 something that's like a smoke show, right? So there's unless he is a high performer or has status. So I'm saying for a majority of men, though, they don't have that. So we look at like these hyper successful men and we say like that's the model, they'll be fine, because like you can still have women because they of the biological clock. That's not true for most men. It's just not.
There's a
Well, if they do the work, it is true. But I think the biggest point here is that a majority of women are looking for that guy. That's
so
I agree.
There's a great documentary that I reference quite a bit, The Science of Sex, where they brought a bunch of men into a room and a bunch of women into a room, showed them pictures and had them rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. I think it was like 100 men and 100 women, rated images of men and women on a scale of 1 to 10. Your obvious guy, he's tall, dark and handsome, flannel shirt, strong looking, got rated a 9. Then there was this guy who was like short, chubby, thinning hair, and pasty skin, and he got rated a 4. They went onto the streets and they showed random people the image of the guy, and they said, how would you rate the guy? Sure enough, he got an 8, 9, or a 10. They showed the chubby little guy, and they said, sure enough, he got rated like a 3, 4, or a 5. Then they added a bio to the...
Boom.
Yeah. And the tall, dark, handsome guy was a theater manager who made $30,000 a year. And the chubby, short guy was a software developer who made $600,000 a year. And guess what happened? They both became 7s.
Yep.
and that's
And I think
with
that
men.
that's the interesting part too, is it's by proximity. So there's an idea in Black Pill that's called geomaxing, meaning where you are kind of defines your status also. Like I went to Asia, and in America, I'm 5'8". Or, well, that's what my rugby profile says. I play for the USA national team. On my my Olympic profile, it does say I'm 5'8", but I actually think I'm 5'7". But either way, when I went to China, I realized that I was a lot taller in comparison to most of the guys. I got off the subway, and I felt like Shaquille O'Neal. In America, that's not the case, and that could be something that affects your status. Obviously, I'm dark-skinned, so in China, I'm still not going to have really high status. It's not really something that they look for, but I'm just saying, like, it depends on where you go. That's the idea of geomaxing, and it has application, because you could be a guy in a club that could be a 7 or 8 type of guy. Drake walks into the room. Now you're not even on the scale anymore, because all the women are looking at Drake. So yeah, like the proximity of the other men that you're around also affects how women look at you as a whole, because oftentimes women like men that other women like for sometimes no other reason than the fact that other women like him. So if you're the type of guy that all the women like, sometimes it's going to make all the other men invisible, even if they may have on another night where Drake wasn't there, they may have been attractive guys.
And right, like
It's true, though.
we're able
Because
to
it's interesting.
increase our sexual market value from our success. But the thing is
Ice
that,
up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like with
Gold
us,
chains.
like our value is determined by like meritocracy, which a lot of times takes time, versus for women their value is given up front. So with what you were saying as far as only a small percentage of the men have what the women want, yeah, and that puts women in a bad situation, because a majority of women are looking for the same guy. And here's the other scary part. We do this thing on our show called the delusion calculator, right? And it, accounts for men from the U.S. Census Bureau, National Health Survey, CDC, et cetera. It's the most accurate assessment of men in the United States. And when we ask them, okay, how much do you want your guy to make? They always say 6 figures. How tall do you want to be? 6 foot tall. What race? White or black, right?
How many abs?
Like educate.
But women also say like they would rather be in the woods with a bear than a man. So like, how much of that is just them being a little retarded and like kind of fantasizing about
level,
silly
etc.
world?
And it's incredible, dude. Even regular girls, when they say this is what I want, the guy always falls into one percentile. So what it comes down to is like,
Damn.
there's more beautiful women than attractive men. So who has the leverage? The higher status men do. And that puts women in a bad predicament because now they can't find their guy.
My response to all of this is, yup, too bad. Have a nice day. I'm not saying don't learn. I'm not saying don't improve yourself. I'm saying that like human society is built upon men being better than other men.
Yeah.
And so guys need to recognize one simple thing. Every day you wake up, you need to look around you and figure out how you can be better than you were yesterday. That's the most important thing.
But here's the thing. I think for men, they're keenly aware of that, whether consciously or subconsciously, because as a man, right, if you're a loser, reality reminds you you're a loser. Women don't respect you.
Yep,
no one wants to be
that's true.
around you. People make fun of you, etc. Like you are constantly reminded you're mediocre as a man, right? Bullying is a rite of passage. But for women, like,
And that's where I honestly think the male feminist comes from. It comes from men who have been kind of ostracized by other men. So they kind of go against, like, what traditionally men like because they get resentful towards men. And so they kind of start pandering to women. That's my own personal opinion about how that kind of stuff comes about. But
they can be useless to society,
lied to.
whatever. They get lied to all day.
Yeah.
So no one ever tells women the truth. And then here's the other crazy thing too. When we show this calculator, right, and it gets like cat bags, they get a score of 5 out of 5 cat bags if it's like in the 1 percentile. Like it'll show less than 1%, and they'll look at that number and they'll literally say, "He's out there. I'm going to find him. I'm going to manifest him." And this is the crazy difference I've realized between men and women. Like,
so that's like 1% of the guys that fit the category. Not even saying that that's a man. Even if you were to find him, he would actually want you. So you only got 1% of the men that you could even find that meets that standard. And then he has to also like you, specifically you.
they will not
crazy.
change their views or their standards. They're like, "He's out there for me." I'm like, why? Oh, I'm going to just manifest it because I'm a Capricorn. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, this is where we are.
The attraction between men and women is a fascinating graph because for men, it's a bell curve. For women, it's a parabolic curve. So, like, guys, when they rate women, it's a standard bell curve. Women, it goes like that. So 80% of men are unattractive to women based on the research. And for men, it's a standard deviation. It's a standard average.
Well, this goes back to women don't know what they're talking about, right? So this is probably something that you're going to agree with. So if these women are self-reporting, these are the things that I'm attracted to, and this is what I'm looking for in a partner. Most of the time, these women have no idea that like it's actually like so off the mark. And I think that we've kind of like digitized and like gamified dating and just partnership in general. So if all you're doing is scrolling, there's a huge element of attraction that we're missing out on, right? So all you see is like this one shitty picture and whether or not you think that person's going to like be a good match for you instead of exchanging like energy and pheromones that we know are like there's like this weird X factor that comes to like I have no idea why I'm attracted to this person, but I am. They've done like that t-shirt test, right? Like I don't know if you guys are familiar with the t-shirt test, right?
They responded favorably to a guy that had a certain odor.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, and they were so they had dudes running a treadmill, and then they put their shirts in a jar, and then had women smell them without knowing what it was. And if they were related, it smelled bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like women
that.
always sought like the most biodiverse candidate, essentially. So if like the genetics were too similar, like she would kind of be repulsed by that. So all of this is like really important when it comes to seeking a mate.
Yeah,
so if
they
you're
look for things that compensate for their defects, which is very interesting in my opinion. Like I learned too through breastfeeding, like my wife breastfeeding, that her body will know what the baby's missing in terms of nutrients, and it will compensate for what the baby's missing in the breast milk. I just find that very interesting. How like a woman, their bodies can do that just naturally. Like they put together the thing that creates consciousness through like the sperm. I don't know how it all works, but I just think that it's damn near magical when you see how like consciousness comes about over time. I think it's very interesting.
like, here's this survey, what do you want? It's almost like if you go to one of those like teddy bear shops and you're like making the perfect teddy bear, like of course you're gonna want to pick like all the best things for it. But
the scary part is they're completely unaware how rare the guy is.
right, and I guess
and because they tend to use their own anecdotal experiences, like, well, I've been around so many millionaires because like I'm hot, so like there's plenty of them, and they really do think that because what ends up happening with like mildly attractive to very attractive women is they go to these major cities, Miami, New York, LA, etc. There's an abundance of these successful men, and they're like, I'm around these guys all the time because I get invited on yachts, and they don't understand that this is still a minority of men. But this goes to show what I've said before. 90% plus of men are invisible to women.
Yeah.
Well, so again, like I think a lot of women are saying that they want these things, but when they actually step out into the real world, they're probably finding guys that are missing most of the things that they said that they wanted, like, and they are actually genuinely attracted to them. So again, I think like this is the one like part where I'll agree, like women don't know what they want and they're saying something totally different. And then when it actually comes to coupling up, they're going to find someone that they're genuinely attracted to, so that he's not going to have to like make those 1% marks for for them to like be a pair.
Yeah, but okay, let's say he doesn't have the money, but he's extremely good looking. Like he's got to. The point is that he has to have something, right, to be able to get her. If you're deficient, okay, let's say you're a brokey, you don't got money, but you're extremely handsome and tall. Well, some women will deal with that for a period of time, right?
I think majority of women. I think that being attractive is more important for sexual encounters than money. While I think that having money is more important for long-term commitment than just being straight up attractive as a man, if I had to guess.
Let's say
Just
you have a
from
lot
my
of money, but you're
observation.
ugly and weird. Some women will deal with that for a period of time. But if you're deficient, right? If you, let's say you got one amplifier that's really good and you rely on that, cool. But you're going to be deficient somewhere else, and that's going to come back to bite you in the ass. You're a good-looking guy with no money. It's going to be tough for you to keep a girl long term.
Yeah,
You're going to lose your chick to some simp. Let's say you're a guy that has a lot of money, but you're ugly. You're probably not going to get laid, and she might cheat on you. So like, it's very important for guys. Like, if you want to get the best of your woman, you got to have everything.
Well, sometimes
Which is very difficult to find.
Sometimes a dude will make a girl laugh, and he'll be okay.
That's if you don't have virtuous women, though. We forget that not that long ago, women kept each other through social shame to certain standards. And so a lot of that stuff was taboo, and so it happened a lot less. And even if it did happen, people didn't know about it because it was so taboo that you would get actual social shame from it. But now with the lack of social shame on the female side for each other, they try to normalize everything because they actually govern each other through social shame. That's why the first thing women will try to do, we don't punish women with actual punishments like going to prison. Women get 60% less time for the exact same crimes, and they're far more likely to not actually get prison time. They're far more likely to get like probation and stuff like that because we tend to not punish women the same way we punish men. We punish women through social shame, and that's why all the hoes, the first thing they say is, let's normalize. It's because they don't want to have to deal with the social shame. Now that we've gotten rid of a lot of the social shame around female behavior, especially degenerate female behavior, and a lot of people will justify it by saying, well, men were mean to women in the past, which, by the way, was not true. But either way, that's a story for another video. But yeah, it's the social shame is how women govern each other's behavior, and we forget that there was a time not that long ago where women held each other to higher standards, and these things were not tolerated.
Looking and like, but he's got potential. She sees the humor in him. Is like, you could be something. And so she'll go with them and she'll support him, especially for young people. You're dating for potential a lot of times.
Yeah.
It depends. I mean, it's always, what I've realized is like, the hotter the girl, the more selective she is, and the more, you know, she for some odd reason, these hot girls all date the same small percentage of guys. Like, it depends on the girl. But like, I think the main takeaway here is that there just simply aren't enough mates for the women based on their standards.
Yeah, I agree with Myron on a lot of the things that he said. I do think that the women that actually have value still exist, and I think that it's a good man's duty to only offer his services and the things and his sacrifices for those types of women. Completely ignore hoes, completely ignore feminists. There's nothing out in the world. The only thing that matters is family, and the sooner you realize that, the more focused you can become, and probably the most successful you'll become. I haven't seen success built as efficiently as I have through family and through marriage and commitment between two people towards one goal, in my opinion, in my own life. That's just what I see. Let me know in the comments below if this video was a W or L, and give me the HBO special that's out without special. Hit the like and the subscribe button for more content. Till next time.